as you know, this program's full of surprises. Aragón never ceases to surprise us. And this morning we find ourselves in a tiny little village in the province of Teruel. And just about 35 kilometers from the capital of Teruel, this village, just hidden away, is Valbona. And here we're going to meet our guest for the program today, who is Rosa. And she's from South Africa. Believe it or not, she lives here in this village. Morning, Rosa.
Good morning, Judith.
How are you?
Very well, yourself?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good.
And Rosa is going to show us around the village a little bit today. We're actually going to go to her house, and she'll tell us about her life and how she came to be here in Valbona.
Okay, we'll do that.
Shall we go?
Yes.
Can we see some things on the way?
Yes, although it's a very small town, it's a pretty little town.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a few things that we have around here.
It's amazing,
Okay.
yeah. And am I right in thinking, Rosa, that here we're fairly close to Javalambre?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We are about 25 kilometers from Javalambre and 25 kilometers from Valdelinares, which is approximately, I'd say, half an hour each way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's very popular in winter because the people come for the ski resorts.
Yeah.
And in summer, of course, it's even more popular because of the fiestas and all the happenings.
Mm-hmm.
The people come back to their town.
Yeah. Tiny little population here, less than 200 inhabitants. Although today is going to seem fairly busy around the village, apparently, because so many people come here to visit in August, in the summer weeks. Yeah?
Yes. In winter, we're about 160 people living here all the time. But in summer, especially the months of July and August, we reach the population of 1,000 inhabitants.
Oh, wow. Massive difference.
Massive,
yeah.
Big difference.
Okay. Well, let's go and have a look. Yeah.
All right.
Should
Let
we
me
go
show you
down
around.
the main street? Or?
Yeah. Let's go down to towards my house, and I'll show you a couple of things.
Okay. There seem to be quite a few famous people from this village. We've just seen the statue over there. We have one here.
Yes. The statue we've just seen is Francisco Piquer y Rodilla. He was the founder of, I think it is Monte de Piedad of Madrid, which later became Cajas de Ahorros. And now we are in the playground which belongs to the school. And in this playground we have the statue of José Ibáñez Martín, who was minister in the times of Franco.
Wow.
And he also started the advice of the scientific investigations. So he's the statue that we have over here.
Yeah, and he was born here.
Yes,
in
I
Valbona.
believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not very sure, but I do think he was born in Valbona. And his daughter, Pilar Ibáñez Martín, she married Calvo Sotelo, who was the second president in the democracy of Spain.
Okay, that's interesting. And are we sort of in the centre of the village here, or which would be the main street?
This is the main street, right? Here is the main street.
Yeah.
So the school is situated just like on the outside.
On the outside.
Yeah, the school, it's a primary school. It was about to close down because there were only 5 kids, students.
Because it's a tiny population.
It's a tiny population, so there were 5. Both my kids came to the school. The school was at the point of closing down, and then the major did some arrangements, some paperwork, and we got a family with 2 kids that came from Bolivia. And the school hasn't closed down, and we probably will have school for a couple of years more to come.
Yeah, good. That's amazing. Let's have a little look around the village because it looks very pretty, and we'll see if we can walk down some of the streets.
Yes,
and
let's go down the main
go
street.
Go towards your house.
Let's go down the main street.
Okay.
On the road to the love.
Rosa, this is an absolutely spectacular house. It's a beautiful area. How did you come to live here from South Africa to Valbona?
Amazing, eh? That you can
Yeah.
come from South Africa to such a small village.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a long story. My parents are both from Spain. My mom was
Mhm.
born in Valbona.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 60s, the situation that was in Spain, they immigrated to South America and in Brazil. I was born.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was born in Spain. He was about 9, I think, when he left Spain and they went to Brazil. And after, I think my parents were in Brazil 4-5 years when I was born. And due to the bad situation in that country as well, my dad decided to look for a better place for his family to grow up and for the kids. And that's when he decided South Africa had the opportunity, and
Yeah.
we went to South Africa.
So you were still a baby?
I was a
just
baby,
one,
yes. I
one
was
year
a year and a couple of months probably when I went to South Africa.
old? Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up in South Africa from a very, very early age.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about your life in South Africa.
My life in South Africa. Well, we lived in the outskirts of Johannesburg, and I went to primary school. Surprisingly, it wasn't an English school. My parents thought it was an English school, but they'd actually sent me to an Afrikaans school. So I wasn't sorry at all. I actually loved it and spoke Afrikaans, English, German was one of the languages we had to learn. And I was brought up among many cultures that we had around, Greek friends, Italians in the neighborhood. And I went to high school. And once I had done my primary school in an Afrikaans school, I decided to continue with my friends to an Afrikaans high school. And once finished the high school, I went into banking. And I spent just about all my working days in a bank there for a long time.
And were the rest of your family with you?
Yes, we were all together there. I can't remember exactly at what stage in life my brother decided he wanted to retire in Spain, and that's when he started coming over and looking for a place. He had never thought of it being Valbona because there were no houses for sale at that moment. And one day he decided, well, he was going to build a house. He was going to look for a piece of ground and build a house.
Yeah.
And that's when he found this piece of ground, and that's where it started. He went back to South Africa, spoke to a Spanish architect, and together they did the design of the house.
Yeah. But he never actually
No, he
lived
didn't.
here.
He came, I think, when the house was in the process of being built,
Yeah.
but he never actually saw the house finished.
No. And what brought you back?
What brought me back to
Valbona
Spain?
later
Well,
on?
to Valbona.
Yeah.
I'd never, in my dreams, have thought of coming to Valbona. I was working in South Africa, had my house, I had my family, but unfortunately, a year after my brother passed away, my husband passed away as well, in a car accident, and due to the insecurity of the country, I was left with he was about 14 months, I think. When my husband passed away, my kid was 14 months. And a couple of years later, I decided, well, I'm going to pack up as well, and I'm going to go because insecurity in the country was terrible. You couldn't go out. It was in the apartheid situation when Mandela was freed from jail and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really high insecurity that we had. And being alone and left with a child, I decided, well, I'm going to try my luck in the village where my parents were.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up here.
Yeah. Had you been here before? Had you visited?
Yes, I
the
came
village?
basically to the village. We used to come every 2 years on holidays for about a month.
Yeah.
We used to come and stay. The house wasn't built, of course. We used to stay with relatives in the town. And we used to go typical. I remember coming to the village, going down to the river to look for my aunt. She was washing clothes in the river.
Yeah.
Typical traditions that they had back then, because they had no other way of doing the things. It was a very, very old house that they had. We came to live with it was my mother's sister that we came to stay with when we came on holidays.
How many years have you been in Valbona now?
I came to Valbona in 1995.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been in Valbona and doing teaching, basically. I've been in teaching.
And did you bring many things with you? Or did you leave anything?
Well, I
in South
didn't leave.
Africa?
My parents came before me, and they came with a full container, all the household, everything, and myself as well. I packed up my house, brought everything in a container, and when my parents came over, they even brought back with them a Ford Escort and a 4x4 pickup.
Really?
Yes.
A Ford Escort?
A Ford Escort.
Yeah, I have a Ford Escort
Do
as
you?
well, from England.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the 70s, early 70s, Mark
No,
One.
I think my dad's was from probably the same time, 70s, 80s. Can't remember.
Yeah.
It's still downstairs in the garden. My dad brought it, and I just haven't had the heart to get rid of it.
No.
It's like
Just
something
stay
that reminds me
Yeah.
of back South Africa, and I still use the pickup when we have
Yeah.
to get rid of rubbish or just clean out the garden or something. Use the
Yeah.
pickup, and the people are totally amazed because, of course, the steering wheel's on the right, and you drive past, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
you know, who's driving?
So you don't use it?
I do
anymore? You
the pickup from time to time.
The
not
pickup, yeah, but
no,
not
no,
the
the other one,
Escort.
it's no, we don't use it anymore.
Show you. Is that the one that was down there?
It's the one that's in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we go and see it?
Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go
All
down and
right.
see the car.
So this is your Ford Escort.
Yes, this is the Ford Escort my parents brought from South Africa when they came to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad used it for many years to go to Teruel, to go to Valencia for his everyday use. And now we're not using it because, of course, we bought new cars and
Yeah,
this car's
yeah.
just been left here in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
I had it in the garage, but of course the new cars took the place of the old car, and unfortunately this one was left here.
Yeah.
And it's still in fairly
Amazing.
good condition.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is Mark II, isn't it?
I've got no idea.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
a 1600.
Yeah. And I remember the Mark One is the one that I have, and that's from 1974. And then my mum and dad actually had one exactly like
it?
this. Yeah. And identical, of course, with the steering wheel on this side, and just a darker shade of the same colour, but a darker shade.
I remember
Absolutely amazing.
when my dad started driving this car through the village over here, the people were totally stunned. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
how can he drive with the steering wheel on the other side, and how can you overtake? They used to
Everybody
ask
will
us
turn
questions.
just by looking at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, but it's
So
right. Shall we go to the
Yeah.
Pantano of Valbona?
Okay.
It's a lake,
yeah,
and it's very popular in summer, where the people go swimming, sailing, they go walking, many
Sounds
things
nice.
to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we
Let's
go
go
have
and
a
have a look. Yeah.
We need the proper style, and we are scattering South Africa. Journey to the stars, far below we live forever.
This is a great place for people to come in summer.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very popular. Very popular. People from all around the villages, they come here in summer. They swim,
Yeah.
go fishing. Some of them even go kayaking over here.
Yeah.
They do a
yeah.
lot of sailing as
On
well.
here.
It's very
Great.
popular.
Yeah, yeah. Did you come with your children?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. As a matter of fact, every time when we reach the end of the school year, we used to come with the teachers, and towards the end of June, and with all the mothers, the children of the school, the parents, and everything, we used to come and have like a picnic.
Yeah.
Everybody used to bring something, and we used to have lunch here together and spend
Yeah.
the day swimming and spending the last
Yeah.
day of school together here with all the families.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a reservoir, really,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
from
It's-
the river.
It comes from a river, from the river that brings the water towards here. I believe this river changes name as it goes through the different villages. It starts up in Alcalá de la Selva. So in Alcalá it's called Rio de Alcalá de la Selva. As it goes through Cabra de Mora, it changes to Rio Cabra de Mora. And when it gets to Valbona, it's Rio Valbona.
Okay.
So it doesn't have an original name.
yeah, yeah. And the other place around here is the Azuz.
We're gonna go, if you want, we can have a look at it. It's this water goes down to El Azuz. It's a low dam that
low
was
dam.
built to keep the water, and it's also very popular. It's very pretty.
Yeah,
It's got
yeah.
like it ends up in like a waterfall, and it's also very popular for people to go spend the day there. But this is obviously more
Yeah.
like a beach
Yeah.
that they come and spend the day.
Yes, yeah. And then the water will be used for agriculture in the area to water the fields.
Yes.
Yeah.
With this water, the fields get watered.
Yeah.
It goes down with. It's got canals that takes it down. It's been built that way, and the people of Valbona all water their fields with the water
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah, yeah. And what are the typical crops in this area? they grow?
Corn, basically, I think, and corn, I think, and I wouldn't be able to tell you now. Can't remember of the others. They do a lot of corn. They do the sunflowers.
Yeah.
And very popular over here is the truffle, la
Truffle.
truffa.
Yeah. Oh, I love truffles.
They're very popular, and it's
Yeah.
actually very, very expensive, as you know.
Yeah.
People pay very high price for a kilo of it, and there are lots of carrascas planted for this reason, and many dishes are prepared
Yeah.
with la truffa.
Yeah. Both savoury and sweet dishes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they do.
Okay.
They use them for many things,
Yeah.
for desserts as well. I've tasted them in desserts,
Yeah.
so it's got a big variety of use that they give the truffle.
Yeah. Is there anywhere we could go?
Yes, we can
near
go
here
to. We can
and
go
see?
to a mill, which was before where they used to grind the grain, and we can go have a look. It used to be an old mill, which has now been converted into a rural complex,
Okay.
and it's a hotel, rural hotel, very pretty.
Nice. Yeah. And there they serve dishes
They
made with
serve
local
different dishes
produce.
of the place,
Yeah.
typical in Valbona and the surroundings of
Yeah.
Valbona.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Shall we
good.
go?
Let's go there now. Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Okay.
Scatterlings and fugitives, hooded eyes and weary brows, seek refuge in the night. They are the scatterlings of Africa, each uprooted one, on the road to Bellamanga, where the world began. I love the scatterlings of Africa, each and every one. In their hearts a burning hunger, beneath the copper sun. Ancient bones from old divide, echoes of the very first cry. Who made me hear it wide beneath the copper sun? African.
What's life like here in Valbona?
What's life like in Valbona? Well, very different from living in South Africa, definitely. It's very peaceful, very quiet. Not many things to do as you would have back in South Africa, but nevertheless, it's a change.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah, it's a small, peaceful place.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very peaceful.
And you're working here? You're teaching English?
Yes, I'm teaching English. I've been teaching English from about 96, a year after I came to Spain, to Valbona. And I've been teaching in Mora de Rubielos, in La Puebla de Valverde, and also in Valbona.
Yeah, very good.
It's been mainly primary school kids and high school. And what I've been doing with them, it's helping them to understand English
Yeah.
that they don't understand at school, do revision of their English, and just try to help them out to be able to pass the subject.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And do you find that in these places with such a low population, you have enough students?
No,
or-
definitely not. That's the problem in these places. You don't have a big population, and therefore the growth of the kids it's very low. As a matter of fact, the school, like I told you before, was about to close down due to
Yeah.
having so
Yeah.
few kids, and therefore I had to look for something else, and that's when I started teaching in Alcañiz,
In Alcañiz?
which is a bigger city.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas in Valbona you have 160 people living. In Alcañiz we have a population of close to 20,000.
Yeah. Oh,
So
huge
it's a big
difference.
change,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's quite a long way though, isn't it?
Yes, it
from
is.
here?
It's
Yeah.
2 hours drive.
Yeah.
It's close to 180 kilometers. So I go every Sunday. I go and we come back on Fridays. So it is a long
Yeah,
drive,
yeah.
but it's worth it.
Yes. Hard work, really. All
It is.
told, everything. Yeah.
It
yeah.
is hard work, but I like it.
Yeah. Rosa, it's fascinating to hear you speaking in English, and I notice that you have a kind of
An African accent.
African accent. Yeah.
I have been told so. Many people,
Yeah.
when they speak to me, English people that I've sometimes, people that have just come to visit and to see them speaking English, I go up to them and we start speaking English, and they immediately say, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're not British. You've got an African accent."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
They notice it straight away.
Do you have
Yeah.
much opportunity to speak in English here?
Not often, not
Not with
really.
native
no,
speakers?
not native speakers. Only sometimes when, like I say, in summer, you have the tourists that come,
Yeah.
and sometimes the major will call me and say, "Look, we've got English people that have come. Would you mind help translating?" A couple of things like that, but not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And did you notice, did you feel a culture shock when you came from a big place like, a big city like
Johannesburg.
to Valbona?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, yes. I mean, coming from Johannesburg or the outskirts of Johannesburg where I lived, it's a big change.
Yeah.
And coming to Valbona, it takes to get adjusted to it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Takes a long time.
Yeah. So you were there for all those years in an English-speaking community.
Yes.
And did your family, how did your mum and dad get on? How did they learn
We
English?
had my mom never got to speak the language.
No.
She never really needed to. And my dad did, because he had a hairdresser salon, and he eventually started to learn English. Not fluently, but enough to be able to communicate with the clients.
Yeah.
And my mom never needed to speak English, because whenever we had to go shopping or anything had to be done, she
Yeah.
had to go with either with me or with my brother.
Yeah.
She would go, so there was never really a necessity for her
No.
to.
No, that was funny what you told me before about your mum thought you were going to an English
Yeah.
speaking school and it
They
was
never-
actually Afrikaans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Only later did they realize it, but then I was already immersed in it, so I
Yeah.
loved it. I don't want to change.
Yeah. And did your mum find any kind of little Spanish community there?
Yes, as a
Or-
matter of
yeah.
fact, there are still Spanish people living there. Lots of my friends are Spanish, living in South Africa. I'm still in touch with them. And I remember having, when I was a kid, I went to a Spanish club, we used to call it, where we had Spanish teachers that came from Madrid to teach us to speak Spanish properly, the grammar
Wow.
and everything. And I remember going, I think it was twice a week. We used to go after school. I had to catch a bus, go with my mom to this place, and there we would meet up with all the Spanish people who used to
Amazing.
take their
Yeah.
children to just learn Spanish.
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause
Have you still any relatives in Africa? Or?
relatives, very few. At the moment, I only have my sister-in-law and my niece living in South Africa.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
rest I have are friends.
Yeah. How old is your niece now?
My niece is at the moment 27.
Yeah. Have you seen her recently or?
No, not recently. I hope to see her soon. Due to family situations and family problems, when we left South Africa, I didn't see her. But I am in touch with her. We
Yeah.
emailing and we
Yeah.
now WhatsApping as
Now
well.
with all these.
The new technologies.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we keep basically once a week or so we try to send a message and see how she is.
Yeah. What was you told me once about your brother marrying?
My brother married with my husband's sister.
Right.
Yes, so we were
That's
brother and sister,
complicated.
married to brother and sister. Yes, it was complicated because we had the same in-laws. We used
Yeah.
to go to the same family meetings, everything. So
Yeah.
it was nice.
Yeah. Is there anything you really miss about South Africa?
Of course, I miss my friends most of all because I've really got good friends back in South Africa. And what I miss most, of course, is the weather.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
weather in South Africa is not comparable
No.
to the weather in Spain, especially in Valbona,
Yes.
where
yeah.
in South Africa you hardly ever get to see the snow.
Yeah.
Over here, it's like
Yeah.
temperatures can drop to below freezing
Wow.
point, and
Yeah. You wouldn't believe it. Today we've had a beautiful
Yeah,
summer's
today it's
day
been a
here,
very
but
beautiful
yeah,
day.
in winter it must be absolutely
very,
freezing.
very freezing in
Yeah.
winter.
Of course, we're very close to the
We're close
ski
to the
resorts.
ski
as well.
resorts, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
In winter, when you have to travel, you have to have the chains of the tires in your boots to, just
Yeah.
in case you get stuck in
Yeah.
the snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I once got stuck, and it was a big problem to keep on driving. I had to stop. Somebody stopped and helped me. So that's something that you don't see in South Africa,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. And this place, the name is Maison de
Macia El Molinete.
Macia El Molinete.
Macia El Molinete. It was before. It was an old mill, what was used for grinding the grain into flour,
Right.
and they converted it into like you can see, a beautiful
Yeah.
rural
Like,
hotel.
complex. Yeah.
Very.
It's really nice. Yeah.
It's very popular, and if you don't really know about it, you'd never know where it's situated.
No. Somebody
It's
would have
hidden
to
away in a valley.
bring you here. Yeah.
It's really, I think
definitely.
it's one of the nicest places that Valbona
Yes.
has.
Yeah.
People come, they can swim, they can go horse riding,
Yeah.
the children can go cycling, they've got cycling routes, and they even
Ponies.
have ponies
Yeah.
as well. And you can even go on a route along the river.
Right.
They take you along the river, in the river, out the river. It's actually quite nice in summer.
And I've heard the cuisine here is excellent.
Of course.
And I think they prepared something for us to
A
take a
dish
look
prepared with truffle, with la truffa.
at. That looks very nice.
Smells delicious, doesn't it?
So, Rosa, really, the last years, 18, 19 years, you spend your life mainly in Valbona.
Mainly in Valbona, yes. I've spent most of my life in Valbona, and now recently, for the last
And
couple of months,
recently.
I've started looking at doing lessons in Alcañiz, but most of my time I spend in Valbona, especially
Valbona,
weekends, and
yeah.
as much as I can. And I've been teaching in Valbona for many years.
Yeah. So you must know what this dish consists of.
It looks like they've prepared roast lamb with herbs and the typical truffle of the region. So it's very popular and very tasty.
You tried it before? Is this one
Yes,
of
I
them?
have. I have. Yeah,
one
of
of
course.
the typical things here.
They use
Yeah.
truffle, like we said before, for many dishes, and
Yeah,
it really does give a nice taste to all the dishes.
yeah. Looks very good. Maybe we should try a
Do
little
you want
bit.
to try?
Yeah.
Okay, please do.
So here we are again at the end of the program. I don't know how we managed to do this, but we always end up having a little to eat somewhere at the end of the program. And it's goodbye from us again, and see you soon.